Hey guys, Stockaholics, thank you guys for being here today. It's been almost, I think, 2 weeks since I've made a video. I've been a little busy, um, and with the free time that I've had, I didn't really feel like making a video, to be honest with you guys. My goal this week is to make a video on updating oil tankers, and my goal this weekend is to go much deeper into bulkers. I really want to really deep dive this space. Uh, so if you're interested in those things, be on the lookout for that. The past couple of weeks, I've noticed a behavior in myself, and that is the behavior I'll be talking about in this video. First of all, I should mention that I am grateful, I am thankful to have this kind of a behavior. I know there is a lot of other people in the world who can be in much worse positions and for all kinds of reasons, whether it be from investing or real life. And so to have this kind of problem is it's a good one. And I hope that I don't hope this problem on you guys, but if you can ever be in the position that have been in the last year, I hope that you guys can find yourselves to that position. Now, I will say that I do see the behavior that I've exhibited in the last couple of, I don't know, months or so to be problematic. I don't know what this behavior is called in the real world. I know I've heard economics professionals talk about this behavior. The way that I see this behavior, though, is through poker, and there's a concept in poker called wind tilting, and that's what I would like to share with you guys in this video. Poker is a beautiful game, in my opinion. If you guys ever get a chance to play some of the game, I think it can teach a lot of valuable lessons. I'm not advocating that you guys play it full time, but I think that it has value just to play a few times to experience some of the things that I'm going to be talking about in this video. Um, I've been playing the game a little bit more than I have in the recent past, the past couple of weeks as well. And I noticed this behavior, and then I started tying that behavior in the game into some of the things that I've been doing in real life. In poker, you generally want to have a strategy. A baseline strategy. You may adapt that strategy to your opponents, but the hard part, in my opinion, about poker is not so much doing all of these things. For some people, that is. But for me, and I think a lot of people out there, the hard part about poker is sticking to it and not letting your emotions influence your decisions. One of the things I've noticed about some of the things that I've been doing in my real life is that I have been going out and I have been spending a lot more money than I would have in the past. And this might not seem like a lot to a lot of you guys, but to me, based on my relative past, it is. Recently, I bought this. Can you guys see it? This is pistachios. I went to the store, uh, I don't know, a few weeks ago. I kept the bag. I spent like $10 on these nuts. And when I purchased it, I didn't think anything about it. And I've also noticed that when I go to go purchase things, I've gone out. I've no longer gone and bought like light, cheap alcohol. I've gone out and spent it on higher quality alcohol. I like to drink beer, by the way. I've noticed that I've been eating out a lot more often. By the way, all of these may be unhealthy behaviors, but I think what I'm trying to get to is that I've noticed a change in my financial behaviors. These aren't things that I would have normally done in the past. And I think that the reason I'm doing a lot of these things, or after some reflection that I have done a lot of these things and not thought much about the spending that I've done to purchase all of these kinds of things. The reason I've been doing this is because I've been wind tilting. um, with all of the gains that I've made in the stock market over the last year and a half, I've felt a lot more wealthy than I have in the past, and I think that that is contributing a lot to my spending habits. I've been I'm spending dumb things that I normally, making dumb purchases I normally wouldn't. I'd be spending a lot more outside of my normal budget. And as a result, I haven't really been investing a lot of my income into the stock market is over the last 2, 3 months. Instead, I've been wasting it. And this is classic wind tilting from poker. When you go on a certain streak of cards in poker, even though you might have a great strategy, when you get this happens to a lot of people. What a lot of players do is their emotions take hold. They feel like they cannot make mistakes in the game, and it causes them to change their strategy. It causes them to do things that in their game that are may or may not be losing strategies. So they may have a certain strategy. Let's say they're a tight player, and they've found success in that strategy. When they've gotten, they've doubled up, tripled up, or whatever after a certain length of cards, they may say, I want to play some more hands. I have all these chips. I can stand to lose some, right? But that's not really how you should think about the game. You should, if you're trying to be a long-term successful player, you should always be sticking to the best of your ability, sticking to that baseline strategy. When you hear a lot of economics professionals talk about this concept that I am talking about, I don't know what it's called in the real world. Again, if you do, let me know. You often hear it being talked about in relation to the boomer generation. This is no offense to the boomer. I'm not trying to single out anybody or any group of people in this video. But the reason I'm bringing this generation up is because it's a pattern that you often notice with this group of people. And that is because the boomer generation, it has a large amount of their wealth tied to real estate in general. And over the last decade or so, real estate in the United States has done tremendously well, especially over the last year or two, depending on your jurisdiction. But in some places, it's done tremendously well. What you notice with a lot of people, when their illiquid assets increase in value, they tend to feel more wealthy. They tend to say, hey, you know what? My house price is going up so much. Let's go out and eat. I'll treat you guys to a nice steak dinner. When in reality, as your wealth, really changed that much, your liquid assets are still the same. You haven't gone out and sold your real estate. Tomorrow there could be a crash. Should the value of your house be impacting your financial decisions on a day-to-day basis, right? And I would argue that no, it should not. If we are going to have a successful long-term investing strategy, our emotions, to the best of our ability, we are humans, to the best of our ability, should be divorced from our investment decisions. Difficult, I know. When I see my behaviors changing like this, where I'm not sticking to a strategy, where I'm allowing my emotions to impact my financial decisions, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in myself. I see it as a weakness. I'm not stoic. I'm I'm an emotional person, but I don't want my emotions again to control my investment decisions. A few years ago, in the recent past, I was in debt and I had negative value to my name. I decided to finish my last year or so of university to take out student loans, much like my generation and the upcoming generation. Thankfully, I understood finance well enough to realize that the loan that I was taking out, I would be able to pay off in a reasonable time frame. Um, I also come from a background of reserve military service, so that paid for a lot of my school prior to that. The reason I took out a student loan to finish my degree is because I was doing something for the last several months called student teaching. That meant that it would be very difficult for me to not only do classes full time, but to also teach full time at a local school, essentially for free. I don't know why anybody, in retrospect, would do this kind of thing. Don't do it. But that's what I did. And when I think about my spending habits at the time, I was hustling. Like every free moment I had, I was doing things to make money outside of with whatever free time. I would be buying and selling things on eBay to try and flip them for a profit. I would be, doing small gigs here and there. Maybe I'd be doing some manual labor, whatever, to try and generate some income. And when I think about my spending habits at the time, it was basically like nothing. I would eat I would spend to eat basically and pay my rent, right? So I had my spending habits essentially to the bare bones minimum. And I think about this, especially when coming from a military background. When I think about this, I feel like I had a lot of discipline. I had strength. And I think about what I was doing on for the reserve at the time. In Hawaii, we were rucking through Kahuku Valley, going up and down these I was a medic with the scouts. We would go on the weekends. We were doing some gnarly shit. So I felt both physically, mentally, and and tough. I felt and with my financial behaviors, I was, in my mind, stoic. To see myself, in my opinion, digress to behaviors where I can feel like I can just spend willy nilly, thinking about where I came from. I'm yeah, like I mentioned, I'm disappointed, and I want to go back to a place where I have discipline again. I want to, and I will. I'm going to find a way to not go into debt again. Thank God I'm out of that. But I'm going to go to a place where I stick to a long-term financial strategy. I also did a stint in the past where my stepmom had a farm also in Kahuku in Hawaii, where we were growing some various Asian vegetables. Chiefly among them was bok choy. But when I was thinking about all of this and reflecting a little bit, there was an individual I met while doing this, and this person was a Laotian military veteran during the Vietnam War. Uh, in retrospect, I wish I knew a little bit more about him, but I remember hearing a comment from him when we were talking because we both had military service. I remember him, and he was a good dude. And we were, I guess, acquaintances, friendly acquaintances. I remember him talking about American soldiers. And one thing I remember him saying, not necessarily in disdain, but in sort of uh, just kind of an observation he made. One thing that he said that he felt like his people, his army, his group, whatever, had an advantage on on the American military. This is a weird one. He said that the Americans were addicted to coffee. The Americans had to rely essentially on a substance to do basic tasks. Essentially, what he's saying is consumerism was driving whatever feeble strength the American military had, and that wasn't a problem that his military and his people had. I don't know how the efficacy and the logic in that, but I kind of respect that kind of a mindset where um, you don't need you don't need anything to be successful. You just need discipline. You don't need a substance. You don't need um, uh, it's in a strange way. It's almost like the American philosophy, the the generation I mentioned a little bit earlier, the boomer philosophy, where if you just have discipline, you can pull yourself up by the bootstrap, and that's my goal. Bootstraps. That's my goal. I want to stick to a strategy, stick to a long-term winning strategy, and to do that, I am going to become more disciplined. What I'm going to be doing now, after having reflected, is formalizing a budget. I'm going to be not thinking about the success of my investments, using that as an emotional basis, but instead sticking to a strategy, going full Dave Ramsey, I suppose, and allocating a set amount of capital of my income every month to investments. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Maybe if you guys were subject to some of the behaviors or any other that I talked about in this video, or any other comments related to this topic, let me know below. See you guys soon.